Hello. This is Jonathan Montoya, and I'm a psychotherapist and licensed social worker. This is a segment I like to call Chapters in 10 Minutes, where I go over each chapter of my favorite psychology or self-help books and break them down into roughly 10-minute segments for you to save some time and enjoy. And this is where I make a disclaimer. I am not affiliated with any of these books. I just want to help others get a better understanding of themselves and their mental health. This is also not a substitute for therapy. So if you are having any mental health issues, please seek out professional help. These are book reviews highlighting what I found to be relevant, but there is so much more substance to these writings. So feel free to read them, explore, and reach out to me to discuss what you found important within these books. With that said, let's get to our first reading. So last podcast, we explored the first chapter of the book Positive Psychology for Your Hero's Journey by Dr. Bruce Smith. Today we'll go over chapter 2, and chapter 2 is titled The Foundations of Positive Psychology. Now, as I mentioned before, each chapter starts off with a relevant quote, and this is one of my favorites within the book, and it states, "When I turned 5, I decided not to whine anymore. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. And if I can't stop whining, you can stop being such a grouch." The next part of the hero's journey, we start to look for wisdom. This is often found in one of the characters in popular books and stories. An example, there's Dumbledore in Harry Potter. There's Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. There's Yoda within Star Wars. And we seek out to find, where can we find this wisdom when it comes to our own hero's journey within positive psychology. And Bruce Smith suggests that this wisdom that we're seeking out is science. Now, science is seen as this form of wisdom, as Dr. Bruce Smith continues to write, because it enables us to test and redefine our ideas. And this becomes very important to establish in order to increase validity when it comes to the positive psychology movement. Now, just as in the hero's journey, there's these elders that provide wisdom. Well, that's the same with positive psychology. The difference here is there's a ton of different people that have helped shape and reshape and refine positive psychology and what we see today. And just going to go through some of these more famous researchers that were able to lay the groundwork when it comes to positive psychology. Psychology, before this movement started to emerge, it was primarily concentrating on what was wrong, what are the issues, what's wrong. And that helped make way, yes, to the DSM, which helped, provide criteria for mental health. But there's more to people. And first off, Abraham Maslow helped change this. He focused in on peak experience. Carl Rogers went down the route of trying to understand what a fully functioning person is. Karen Horney as well described and researched what it means to be an authentic person. With this, humanistic psychology started to focus in on inherent growth. There's existential psychology that starts to emerge with the emphasis of finding the meaning of life. From there, we start to get into subjective well-being. We start understanding the concept and the ideas around flow, self-efficacy. Victor Frankl starts to explore meaning. We have Jon Kabat-Zinn that really emphasizes mindfulness and how it emphasizes positive well-being in people. And so how did this really explode into what we see today? And Dr. Bruce Smith goes down the historical route within this chapter and mentions Martin Seligman. And in 1998, he became the president, or he was elected the president of the American Psychological Association. And as he's elected to this position, he starts to really focus on this concept that we see as positive psychology. Funding was then provided for him, and he starts to influence others to expand their horizon when it comes to research. And what is created is what I like to call the Avengers of positive psychology, and it's just a group of researchers that really helped this field thrive. Christopher Peterson starts creating the UNDSM, and this is trying to counteract what the DSM has created. You know, again, remembering that the DSM is a diagnosis when it comes to mental health issues. The UNDSM was 24 strengths grouped under the 6 virtues of wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. Now, as this movement continues to grow, it starts attracting younger researchers, and now we start to explore functions that positive emotions may serve. We start exploring gratitude, the effects of forgiveness, growth and success. As this expands more and more throughout different researchers, journals start to emerge. The Journal of Positive Psychology is created. From there, it expands internationally. The IPPA is created. The International Positive Psychology Association is created. There is even a second wave of positive psychology that begins to emerge, and often focuses on, you know, what painful experiences may play in human transformation and even fulfillment. Parallels start to emerge. You know, this is where there's an emphasis with mindfulness-based stress reduction, and seeing the effects that mindfulness can start to have on our well-being. And this positive psychology movement even breaks into universities as they start to study compassion and altruistic behaviors at Berkeley, California. So this doesn't come without some criticism, and understandably. Positive psychology is often associated with positive thinking or unrealistic optimism. Those people that are constantly smiling and they just seem, very fake. And this association is addressed by Dr. Bruce Smith within this book, giving light to what is positive psychology and what is not positive psychology. I feel like this is a very important part to understand and mend the criticism that is often given to this field. So if we first explore what is not positive psychology, Dr. Bruce Smith describes that positive psychology is not the avoidance of the negativity. Positive psychology is not just about superficial happiness. Positive psychology is not just common sense. And positive psychology is not only for those already doing well. He then ends the chapter by describing what positive psychology is. And again, I think this is very important to understand. And Dr. Bruce Smith writes, "It is science's answer to the question of how to make the most of our lives and live them to the fullest." So chapter 2 gave us a great outline of where we find the wisdom. We find the wisdom of positive psychology within science. It's been built up throughout the years and through multiple different researchers to help pave the way of what we see today. We explored what positive psychology is not, as well as what is positive psychology. And now that we have some guidance, some wisdom from these researchers, from science, let's look at chapter 3 now.